So this is the gel imaging system, and I'm going to show you how to start it up and use it to get an image of your gel. So it has two power switches. One is located at the back, down here behind, to the left of the power switch, right about there. So that needs to be on to power the lights. And then the computer, I've already turned it on, but the power to turn on the computer is this button off to the side. Right now it's light up blue. That it's on, and we're going to go ahead and start the program. This is really only devoted to this one function, so we're going to turn on the oxygen imaging program. And using this, I've got two hands here, and one of them has a glove on and one of them does not. There's a little bit different opinion about how we should approach this. Generally, this being a shared piece of equipment, we want to leave it nice for other users. And we also maybe want to be a little cautious about other users that have used this before us. So I use the glove hand to touch my gel and any surface that the gel touches, and I want to stay mindful of that the gel is going to have that gel stain on there, just a residual amount, but maybe enough to be concerned about. And then my other hand, I don't want to touch that with, and I don't want to touch anything that anybody else has encountered with their gloved hands. So maybe a better way to do this would be to put a glove on both hands and use one hand that I know touches only my gel equipment, and the other one touches things that nobody should have touched with their gloved hands, but maybe they did. So once you put those gloves on, the fresh gloves obviously don't have any contaminants on them, but they will protect you in case you get an incidental exposure to something that's already been left on a surface. My strategy is I'm going to use my bare hand here, and then I'm going to make sure to wash my hands after this is all done. So good practice for any lab technique, particularly anything involving gels and this gel stain on here. Okay, so we have a program up here. It's got a few menu options, and I'm going to go to dark room. And the dark room allows me to see a live image of what's coming in below. And I'm going to turn on the light using this epi white. So epi means from above, and that'll shine the light down from above onto the surface. So I'm going to pick up my gel here and open the door. I have a UV transparent gel box. This is a technology that's mostly in use these days. Just be mindful if you use anything that's older, or if anybody maybe recommends that you do it this way. You can actually take the gel and slide it off of the gel box onto the imaging surface. But I know that mine is UV transparent, meaning that the ultraviolet light that's going to come up from below will encounter the stuff that's in the gel and allow that to fluoresce. I'm also using a stain called Cyber Green. Another version of this similar molecule is Gel Star. And these molecules may fluoresce at different wavelengths, and I'm going to actually be able to use a blue light on this one. So sometimes ultraviolet light, sometimes blue light. Just maybe be aware of what you're using when you get started here. Using this live image with the white light camera, I can adjust my image, kind of square it off with the upper and lower lines on there. And I'll go ahead and close the door there. This has a nice feature of basically automatically focusing. I don't have to worry too much about that. I'm going to go up to this menu item called the ROI, select ROI, region of interest, and capture selected region. And it starts drawing a box on here that I can adjust. I want to adjust it to take a picture of just my gel, but also a little bit around the edges, so that I can orient myself. So knowing where the bottom edge is and the top edge, this will help me know if my product has maybe migrated so far that it's at the edge. I'll know that because I can actually see the edge on here. Helps it a little bit. All right, so that's probably going to do us for being able to see it. I'm going to switch over to blue light, which I know works with my Cyber Green fluorescence. And this is the image I've got. I ran my products from left to right, and I've run them maybe just a hair long. So I've got some products showing up in this location, which is inside of the wells, but they started out on the left side. So they migrated down and made it to the wells. The fact that they made it that far in the amount of time that I ran this gel, that's farther than I would expect the products of my reaction to have made it. So this is probably something called primer dimers, which are not targets specifically of the PCR reaction, kind of a side effect and not anything of interest. So not great success on the left hand there. In the middle zone here, I started these in this row of wells and they made it to this distance. And that's a pretty good distance. So I can compare that distance. I didn't leave myself a ladder in this row, but I can compare it against this ladder. And it looks like that would be about 1,000 base pairs. I could do this maybe after the fact, kind of measure the distance this went from the wells here. That should be equivalent to the distance that these pieces went. At any rate, I'm going to take an image of what I've got and do image capture. And it's going to collect that over an amount of time. And I'll be able to print that image. Just press the print button and turn my printer on. The printer power is in the back here, toward the bottom, where these plugs are. Turn that on and some lights come on. And now we should be ready to go. Back up here to print. So this is a thermal printer. The printer paper is kind of shiny and comes from a roll, so we have to tear it across. There's some teeth in here, and the best way to tear this is about 45-degree angle. Take some practice, but you'll get good at it, and boom, just like that. Okay, so it prints off the image with the date. I could have given this a title, but I'm more interested to have this as my physical piece of evidence. You also can save the files you've generated on here. Let me go back before we leave this one, show you a little bit more of the versatility of this equipment. It's set right now to collect light over 39 milliseconds, and I can dial that up. I'm not too fond of the dial because the dial quickly goes into an outrageous range. Another way to do this is to touch into the text portion, and then you can adjust by typing in a different number. So I was at 39, now we'll do 99. Oh, I'm sorry, 1 second, 99 milliseconds, so it's still crazy long. Switch this back to 0. Okay, so 0 seconds, 99 milliseconds. Things get a little bit brighter. Let me do over 200. I'm going to do tab. I think enter also maybe works to change this. So to commit what I've typed, I'm going to do tap. And you see things get brighter. So when you're taking an image, if you have something that's maybe faint or suspicious and you think it's there, some bands have kind of shown up here. That is something we can see by exposing this for longer, but it does wash things out. So we're over full exposure in some places. It's overexposed, and we wouldn't be able to see those very well. Conversely, you can head down into a smaller amount of exposure. Things will get darker, but this might let you discriminate between bands that are generally pretty bright. So you've got a lot of options there. I don't use the file save options too much, but you can save files to here and export them on a device if you so choose. And when you're done, obviously you want to power things down. So I've printed my images for myself. That's enough. I don't need to worry about keeping it. So I'm going to exit the program and say that I don't want to save the changes. And then over here, the power symbol here, hit that, and I'm just going to do shutdown. So that'll do electronic shutdown. And a little blue light there should go out eventually. And then I'm also going to turn off the box over here. My gel, I'm going to take out, oh, wrong hand. I'm a little bit less smart while I'm recording videos. What I like to do is just take the paper towel that I brought this over on and use that to wipe down the surface. You can also use a little bit of deionized water to rinse this off. This is the only real function for this device, so shouldn't be any other, it's not a lot to worry about as far as preparing this for the next person, just so long as it's clear of what you left on there. Pretty clear. Sometimes I leave this ajar to, if there's any moisture in there, leave that kind of evaporate out. And that should be good for the next person.